Yes, welcome back to Football Heritage TV, home of Savva. This guy, look, him. I am welcomed by Hooks, Blue Brother Charlie. We've got Forrest and no Wolfie today. Some of you will be happy. And Mike's. Guys, it is International Week, and how much are we all missing Premier League football? Anybody?
Yeah,
definitely.
Really, yeah.
I mean, still, we still got about 10 days to wait.
Yeah.
Spurs and Chelsea play each other in 10 days' time, and it's like
April 3rd. It's long. Well, any of us that aren't in the FA Cup are waiting a long time.
Yeah, we play on the 1st, so I've got to wait so long.
So it's only Ant on this panel who's got a team in the FA Cup, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Good.
London
Go on,
stink.
Forrest. Go on, Forrest. Guys, International Week. We should probably start with a little bit of England talk. Breaking news on Sky Sports News right this second that Marcus Rashford is set to start for England again tonight. We were talking a little bit backstage about this, guys. What did we all make of England the other night? What do we make of this squad in general? And is it weird that we've got a manager who's coming in, vastly experienced? He's got just over a year until the World Cup. What are we expecting? Are we expecting experiments? Are we expecting this guy's going to go with senior pros and not worried about the kids? What's going on, guys? England, talk to me.
I think the one thing that has been confirmed is Miles Lewis-Skelly will be our starting left back, and I am all here for that. Hail end, rise again. I also wouldn't be surprised if by the time we actually get to the World Cup, Ethan Nwaneri is called up to the first team squad as well. But that's just a little Arsenal. Ben White as well. I would expect Ben White to come in as well. But that's my little Arsenal pop. So now we wouldn't have known.
We wouldn't have known you're an Arsenal fan from that opinion.
I just wanted to get it out there real quick. Didn't have to spend too much time on it. We all know. But I think cool. So watching that game against Albania, the thing that annoyed me the most is it felt like I was watching Arsenal. Like it felt like it was just pass, like the death by a million passes. It felt like there was loads of times where we recycled the ball unnecessarily. We found it really difficult to break down the low block of Albania, which is something that Arsenal struggle with a lot, is breaking down low blocks. But I was happy to see that, and I was quite shocked, is that Tuchel didn't play three at the back. And I was like, okay, so he wants to, because obviously before the game, he was talking a lot about like what he thought of Southgate in the summer. And he was talking about there was like a lack of expression, a lack of excitement. And I was like, okay, I agree with you. He was saying it looked like we cared more about getting knocked out than actually turning up and beating teams. And I was like, okay, I agree. You're saying all of your observations were my observations. So the first gate for me for Tuchel to pass was to not go with three at the back. So when I saw him go 4-3-3, I was like, okay, cool. He's trying to instill a more offensive approach. Like he wants to be on the front foot. He wants to be, I guess, the team that other nations look at and go, okay, we have to be careful of them. Do you think that
might have been, I'm just playing devil's advocate, do you think that might have been because of the caliber of opposition? And when we play somebody like a Spain or Germany, that you might see him revert back to a back three?
I think
potentially. Yeah. Also, so personnel and quality of side, potentially. But then if we're going and we're playing against Spain, for example, who Spain are always going to dominate us in terms of possession and style of play, regardless of who's playing. I think in that moment, it's more logical to say, okay, let's sit back and play on transition. And I would be cool with that because I don't know, we're not going to beat Spain at passing. Do you know what I mean? We're not going to beat Spain at that side of the game. There's no point us even trying. However, if we did deploy three at the back and then, we get ahead, once we have the lead, then maybe second half, I'll be looking at, okay, let's take the game to Spain now. And then maybe then that's where I'll be looking at, okay, will he switch up what he's doing to try and take control of the game? Now, on the personnel point, I also kind of agree with that as well. Maybe the personnel that we had, a free back wouldn't have necessarily worked, or it wouldn't have really been much point. And maybe you could argue he wants to get as many attacking players on the pitch as possible to kind of see who thrives, who doesn't thrive. I would expect, well, I would hope once Palmer is back in like the fray, hopefully he moves Bellingham back to being an 8 for England in a double pivot with Rice, which is what I've been waiting for ages, and then have Palmer in the 10. I would like to hope going into the like actual World Cup now, I would see the likes of Gordon starting games over Rashford, even though I'm happy that Rashford came back, because I think Rashford was the type of profile that we missed in the Euros. But I think Gordon's arguably been the best left winger in the Prem this season. So for him to not be starting behind Rashford, to me, is a bit of a weird one. Obviously, when Saka comes back, Saka immediately goes to the right wing. And then obviously you have Bowen as like a rotation piece there. And then obviously Harry Kane up front. I would like to see, so one thing that annoyed me, and I noticed that at parts in the game, is Kane is still doing this thing where he drops so deep. And it's like, it's annoying to watch as a fan, because it's like, you're the guy that I want up there when someone else picks up the ball deep and is looking for someone who can put the ball in the back of the net. But because you've dropped deep, all of the people ahead of you, then I don't have as much confidence in them scoring. So
can I ask though, bringing the other panel members in? See, I look at it the opposite to Hooks. If you actually watch, I felt that England had so much of the ball without getting it to Harry Kane that after about 15 minutes, you could see Harry Kane go, I'll come and get it from deep then. Like, no one was playing forward passes. Bellingham listen, every now and then Bellingham's got an amazing pass. But how many times did Rice and Bellingham sideways, Rashford cuts in, Foden cuts in? I don't know. What do you guys think? Is Kane being told to do this?
I mean, didn't Tuchel say that he didn't want Kane to be dropping deep anymore? He was going to stop that. Have I just imagined that? I mean, look, Kane is going to drop deep at times. I think it is hard to probably completely eliminate that from his game. But him dropping deep, in my opinion, does have an impact on what those other attacking players behind him can do. Because by dropping deep, he's then taking up the space that a number 10 would take up, that a number 8 advancing from midfield would look to get into. And then with him dropping deep, you're then relying on your likes of maybe Rashford or Foden, if they're playing, to then maybe get in the box and almost act as a centre forward at times, which is not really it for me. I mean, it's a slightly separate point, and there's a long way to go in this qualifying campaign. I really do hope that in this qualifying campaign, we do see him give a genuine opportunity to Kane alternatives, because we are fucked if Kane gets injured, and we are still hugely reliant on him. We saw at the Euros last summer that he wasn't fully fit. He had a poor tournament by his standards, and he was subbed off on a number of occasions. And I just think in the build up to these tournaments, it's not just it will be a Tuchel issue now, but it's been an issue for Southgate and previous managers. There's no real alternative to Kane that's been given a fair crack, and that we can say if Kane's out, we're happy with XYZ player coming. I mean, Ollie Watkins not even in the squad this time. I mean, who's the striker in the squad other than Kane?
Dominic Solanke.
Well, how is Solanke in?
I mean, I didn't pick the team.
No. I wasn't questioning you. I'm just putting it out there in general. But how is Solanke in?
But again, this is the problem, guys, right? In this day and age where you only have one up front, the problem you've got is Kane is the captain as well. So I can imagine that if Tuchel turns around and says, Harry, we've got 2 World Cup qualifiers, I'm not starting you in these games. I can imagine Harry Kane's going to be a little bit like, but I'm Harry Kane, I'm the captain. Like, I'm not saying it's right, but the other night he played 90 minutes. Like there was no need for Harry Kane to play 90 minutes to get scoring goals
as well, doesn't he? He likes getting records for scoring goals as well. So, I think that'll be in his mind that I want to get more goals for England. I mean, I actually gave England a little bit of a pass on the other night, because the way Albania played makes Forest look like prime Barcelona, basically. You know, that's what you call a low block. I mean, you're talking 11-0 practically. Do you know what I mean? And believe you me, I've witnessed this myself as a Forest fan. It's not easy to break down a good defense like that. And they were good. I thought they played really well. But also, Albania's record is not bad. I think they lost 1-0 to Spain. I think they lost 1-0 to Italy or somebody like that. Have I frozen?
No, you're good.
You have, but I quite like it. I think it's a nice pose. So
me being frozen.
Yeah, go. Yeah. Feel free to do whatever you need to do. If you want to restart or if you want to.
I'll sort it. Yeah.
I feel like with England, they don't have a good enough runners in behind for Kane to be dropping so deep anyway. Like as Charlie was referring to, it's like the wingers getting into the box. Like as much as that idea of Rashford running in behind and scoring on goal sounds good, we haven't seen that really as effective in his career on a consistent basis. He's a very streaky player. With Foden, I did watch the game, but I heard Foden had another bad game for England and stuff like that as well. And he's being very shoehorned in and stuff as well. But when you're coming up against a low block, we're relying on the midfielders to progress the ball. And apart from like Watson, who isn't in the squad, he's in the under-21s. England don't have them centre midfielders that are going to progress the ball. They don't have especially from deep. So I think as much as like England could struggle with like the bigger sides with it's in the tournaments or not, also going to struggle with a lot of the defense there, just going to keep it tight as well. I feel like we saw that in the Euros as well, where obviously referring back to Kane when he should have been taken off a lot earlier in certain games when he was playing bad, and Watkins made a difference by running it behind and Palmer coming on as well. If Tuchel was going to be another one that's just going to play the big names and not, give anyone else a chance to the alternatives, then we're just going to suffer with the same exact problem we've been suffering with the previous managers have done.
Can I just close? Sorry, I was going to finish off. Yeah. So it's not easy for me. Now with Harry Kane, he mustn't. When you're trying to break down a low block, you don't want your centre forward coming back into that area because it jams it up even more. Do you know what I mean? You've got even more players in that area. You want your striker to be on the shoulder of the last defender or the last 6 defenders. But where you can break it down is having good wing play. So the winger can then take on 2 players, cross the ball. Yep. There you go. And I'm afraid picking Foden, in my opinion. Now I'm going to go on a little bit of a Forest thing here, but that's it's because that's what I've got most experience as. No, I've got more experience. I've got more experience of seeing. I've got more experience.
You could have a conversation without mentioning your own players. It's so funny.
It's true.
I mean, obviously, I see a lot of Callum Hudson-Odoi, for example, and I know Callum Hudson-Odoi does take on defenders. He does score goals. He does come inside. He does go outside. He does dribble past defenders. I saw Rashford in the last 18 months to 2 years do none of that. And yet he gets picked straight away over someone like Callum Hudson-Odoi. And also, and I'm going to bring this in as well, why are we not trying out players like Morgan Gibbs-White, who has sparkled all season? I'm not saying he's the first pick for England.
Where does
I'm not saying that.
And I think my question is this: where does he play? Right, because for me, when I look at the England setup, right, you've already got, and to Mike's point just now, you've already got Phil Foden, who's a number 10, being shoved out wide right. Like I feel like we've got the whole Gerrard Lampard Scholes thing again going on, right? You got Phil Foden who's being chucked out wide right, rather than saying to him, you know what, Bellingham, you sit in the hole with Rice and let Foden dictate a game. Give Foden the ball where he wants it, 25 yards from goal where he can be on the half turn. So you've got Foden who wants to play in that area, Bellingham who wants to play in that area. You've got Cole Palmer who's going to play in that area.
Got Morgan Rogers as well.
Gibbs-White who wants to play in that area. James Maddison down the pecking order, he wants to play in that area. They can't all be in the squad.
Rogers and Morgan Rogers as well.
I agree. I agree. But can I tell you something that might surprise you? If you ask Nottingham Forest fans what Morgan Gibbs-White's best position is, it ain't 10. It's an 8 or central midfielder. He plays better, deeper. He really does play better, deeper than he does up in the 10 position. That's where he has his best games for us. So, again, the manager could have a little bit of imagination and think, okay, well, let's see if he can play that role in an England team. I'm not saying he's the guy. I'm just saying, surely we should be giving players like this a chance to prove that they can be the guy. And that was a little bit disappointing.
I think he's really playing it safe to begin with.
Who he's messed about? It was not called up. Then he was called up because of Palmer. Then he was dropped again, and now he's back in again. You know, but what Tuchel said, to his credit, is that he's got massive admiration for MGW's attitude. He's been superb, and that's what you need. You don't want Mardy horses. You do. You don't want players that are going to chuck the. We had one a couple of seasons ago. Who was it? Who refused to play for the under-21s because he wanted to be in the full team. You remember? Anyway,
I can't remember. But do you know?
Yeah, I think it was a Chelsea player.
You know my
I don't remember.
My 2 pence on this, is.
Would you just quickly? Do you want the team? Do you want the team? By the way, just really quickly. Sorry,
Rogers is playing alongside Bellingham in midfield.
It's just flicked up. So the team is
Rice.
Pickford in goal, James, Konsa, Guehi, and Lewis Skelly, with Rice and Bellingham in midfield, and then Rogers, Bowen, and Rashford behind Kane.
Okay, so this is perfect. This leads into one of the things I was gonna say. So the issue, I feel like the issue with Bellingham, because Bellingham and Kane is the issue here, isn't it? Because basically, I think it was it last season or maybe the season before, where it may have been last season, where Ancelotti started playing Bellingham as a 9, as a false 9, and this is because Bellingham is a match winner. Now, it's very difficult to move Bellingham into the 9 for England because you have Kane, who's also a match winner. So what Southgate did is he moved Bellingham out of the 8 into the 10 because he got gassed up by Real Madrid. But the thing is, in Real Madrid, everybody's a match winner. Every single body is a match winner. In England, not everybody's a match winner. So it basically created a lot of like disharmony in the team because you want to get all your best players in. So you're playing Bellingham in the 10, but you're playing Foden out wide. But Foden naturally wants to play in middle areas. So you have Foden coming into middle areas, which now mashes up Kane and Bellingham because they're both middle area players as well. And then when you throw in the likes of Palmer as well, who's also a guy I want to play in middle areas, we actually have a problem of everybody wants to play in middle areas. So in my opinion, you have 2 options. You either play Rice in the 6, and then you play 2 8s in Morgan Gibbs-White and Morgan Rogers. That way we just have Rice, he just sits, he sweeps, and then you have 2 of the arguably the most powerful runners in the league at the moment, running up and down, and both of them are a bit creative as well. And then you have Bellingham in the 9. That's if you want to fit Bellingham in. You can also play Kane there. Or you go Bellingham, we're going to go back to what you was great at for England and put you in a double pivot next to Rice, and then play Morgan Rogers in the 10. I was so confused when Morgan Rogers didn't play the 10 in the last game, because to me, I think he should be clear of everyone. I don't give 2 shits about Foden. I'll be so honest. I don't give 2 shits about Foden. Like for me, the Foden England experiment is done. Like personally, in my opinion, it's over. Like, because
isn't the experiment done in that position? You've got a talent like Phil Foden that if he plays in the number 10, look at the season he had last year for Man City, where he played most of the season in the 10.
I don't
it's
think
ridiculous sticking Foden out on the right. What a waste of talent! It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
We've seen this, and we've seen this with Paul Scholes. We did. I'm not saying they're the same player, but
no.
Both want to play in central positions. Paul Scholes and Phil Foden. You've got England managers that just go and play out wide. And then when people are going, oh, Foden had a bad game, he didn't take his man on. Well, Foden's game is to take a man on centrally. Foden's game is to drop the shoulder in the middle of the park, and he's more on the half turn running past them.
He drifts past players, doesn't he?
Yes.
He drifts past players. He doesn't burst past players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel for him. The thing with Foden is, though, he's got 40, I think he's got 44, 45 caps. I think he's scored 2 goals for England. Whatever it is with Foden, and no one is denying that Foden's got unbelievable quality, talent, and has proven that he can do it in the best league in the world on the biggest stage. However, for whatever reason, with England, and some of it, of course, is being shoved out wide, he has played centrally at times for England. For whatever reason with England, they cannot get a tune out of Phil Foden. Now, do England to win a major tournament need to get a tune out of Phil Foden, or have we actually got other options where we actually don't need Phil Foden to win a major tournament? And I'm starting to edge towards the fact that actually, do you know what? As mad as it sounds, to win a major tournament with England, I actually don't think we need Phil Foden in the playing a major role. Don't get me wrong; he can start odd games here and there and come off the bench or whatever. But you do not need, in my opinion, Phil Foden to be an integral part of an England side to win a major tournament.
Because now, anyway,
I can't make a case for him starting as a 10 ahead of Cole Palmer or ahead of Morgan Rogers or ahead of Jude Bellingham. And out wide, he's wasted. Like, if you're going to play him on the left, I think Anthony Gordon's our best left-sided player right now.
He's a very different player to those, though, isn't he? Like let's look at Morgan Rogers and look at Phil Foden. Morgan Rogers is powerful, isn't he? I love Morgan Rogers. I think he's. I'm gutted that when Spurs went and bought Brennan Johnson, Aston Villa went and got Morgan Rogers for about 10 million. I don't know,
15 million.
15. We paid 50, but that's a different conversation. I think he's more of your. I want him driving. I want Morgan Rogers picking up the ball, maybe just inside his own half and driving. Phil Foden suits Man City to a T because they have all the possession in the other half, and it's the short, intricate passes and the quick 1-2s where Phil Foden excels. When he plays for England, you can see that he is somebody that has been so indoctrinated into Man City's setup that when he plays for England that don't play that kind of tick-a-tacker type, not, you know what I mean, when they don't play that high possession, keep ball football, he's wasted. And you might be right, Charlie. You might be right. Maybe he doesn't figure, but it's a shame because that's
of course it's a shame. Yeah.
Surely the simple answer is that Bowen is a better right winger than Foden. Surely you'll agree with that. So why are we not playing? Why are we not playing Bowen on the right wing then?
Well, he's playing tonight on the right, but yeah.
Can we be honest though about Phil Foden? Like, he's a system player, and we don't like in the England setup. We don't have system managers, so it's not that Phil Foden can't thrive in England. It's that Phil Foden can't thrive in England until he has a system manager managing England. So like that's what. Well, even he hasn't even really done that well under Pep this season. But I know he's had a few personal things off the pitch that affected. You know what I mean? But like. It is what it is. I don't even think it's international level. I think if you take Foden and you put him into any other team that isn't system heavy, he won't be as good as what he's been in seasons at Manchester City. And it's not really a slight on him because what else is he meant to know? Like, he basically, that's the way that he grew up. He grew up all the way through Pep. So it's kind of like it's a bad on him because he doesn't really know how to do anything different. And I'll be honest, I've had enough of at international level us sacrificing like the ability to win trophies.
Definitely needs to be taken out for the
players. I can't be asked anymore, man. Foden, either sit on the bench and be happy with that and impact sub and whatever, or just sit at home and support England like me. I
think we even need to play the 10 or not play. I don't feel like
we said that last summer as well. We said that last summer.
But also, like with Foden, I feel like we don't have the wingers that are constantly like taking quick touches, like and running at players to take the pressure off the middleman. Where it's like, for example, if you're playing a number 10 in England, because of the wingers you have, you got to take more touches to actually create something. And when Phil Foden does that, it hinders his game as well because, as Hook said, he is a system player. With someone like a Morgan Rogers, he's got the power. So, like, when he does carry the ball and he can take a lot of touches, he's more effective to play that way. I think we just need to turn to different players. Like, I don't think anyone at England is that good where we have to sacrifice everyone else in the team because we're trying to fit you in the team.
Yeah,
like no one is that good. I think Foden's a big example of that. Also, I get where Foden's been mistreated out on the wing and stuff, but it's got to come to a point where you got to try new players. Someone like a Morgan Rogers coming through, someone like a Gibbs White, just try something different.
You know why these managers do that though, Mike? You know why these managers? This is for me. I don't know if what you lot think and the people in the chat. I think. Look again, like Danielle is saying, Foden was dreadful. I don't think he was dreadful. he's not a right winger. So what he knows to do is when he receives the ball on that right-hand side is take the touch and come back inside because he wants to link up. He's not a winger. He's not going to get the ball.
He's
not going to get the ball and beat men. What he wants to do is, when we've seen him play out wide for City, what he does is he gets the ball and he'll come and link up with De Bruyne, Silva, Gundogan. They link up, so they all play quite tight. But my problem is now with the whole Phil Foden situation is he is maybe a victim of 2025 football. And what I mean by that is how many of these managers now, not just internationally, club level, play wingers who literally get the ball cut inside, because they're more worried about retaining possession than they are in the old days where wingers would get the ball and it was like, oh, go on, beat your man. Who plays like that now? And I think he's a victim of that.
To your point, Savva, honestly, it's amazing how you pick that out because I was just about to say it, that I watched Foden because I've always been a massive Foden fan. You know, in a couple of years and the year he was player of the year, he was magical. So I've always liked Phil Foden. Yeah,
he's a quality player.
Right. But I noticed on the other night with England so clearly, and you're dead spot on what he said. He sat out wide on the right. The ball would come to him, and what he did every time, and he does it with Man City, but it works, or used to work with Man City, is he passed it back to the player that he got it from. He passed it back to the player he got it from, and then ran forward to receive it back. And that ball never came back to him.
Exactly.
And I felt it was like such an obvious plan. Talk about system players. That's in his mind. On the right, get the ball, pass it back and run, expecting the ball back again. Never came.
Different way of playing for England than it is for Man City, right? It's different.
But this is what I find funny about the Foden thing is, right, is that people complain when he doesn't play well on the right, as if they're expecting him to be unbelievable. Like, exactly. I don't understand it. Like, anytime I see Foden on the team sheet out wide for England, I'm not really moaning about his performance because I know his performance is not going to be very good. Like, what are you expecting from him on the right-hand side? So why are people moaning about his performance level on the right when you know it's not going to be very good in the first place? So it's a waste of time. Now, I know Tuchel will want to look at players early on, particularly in these first few qualifying games. They want to try players out, look at it, get an idea of what people can do in his way of playing and whatnot. But I would be very surprised if Foden is a key player for Tuchel as this qualifying campaign progresses and at the tournament.
You say he's trying to try players out. So why, when we're playing a team ranked 125th in the world, have we got 4 goalkeepers in the squad and he's still playing Pickford? If you're trying new players out, I know it's a minor point, but come on.
He's not going to try new players out in every position. I think it's obvious that Pickford is still comfortably England's best goalkeeper.
Yeah, he is, but give somebody else a game against Latvia. Come on.
But in his first few games, though, like I just don't think that's going to happen and be realistic in your first.
I'm being a bit facetious, Charlie.
There's also the side that, like, it's not just about Tuchel figuring out what to do with the England squad. Tuchel also needs to prove to all of us English people that he's the right man for the job. Like, it's all well and good us saying he should experiment, but if, God forbid, he was to lose or draw to Albania or Latvia, his head will be on a stake in the media. So he's well aware that, he has to figure out what can work, but he also needs to win. And I understand that part. But what I think we do need to, what I finally need an England manager to do is to just accept that Harry Kane is our best player. That's all I need. And then build around that. Like, Saka is a player that I'm more than happy for you to have the shine. Gordon, Eze on the left, I'm more than happy for you to have the shine. But when you're playing all these Bellinghams and Fodens and Palmers who they want the glory, there's no cohesion in the team. Like, we can't play players or too many players at the same time that are selfish and want to be Superman. There's got we can't have everybody that wants to be Batman. There's got to be some people that are more than happy to be Robin. And that's the only way we will succeed.
Over the last 3-4 years, I mean, Foden takes a lot of the brunt. For me, takes a lot of the brunt. who has really been quality in an England side for the last 3-4 years?
Bellingham,
Who would
probably. That's maybe it. Maybe Bellingham. Bellingham.
Maybe Bellingham.
Yeah.
Bellingham in
Martin
moments.
Lewis Kelly, he's been brilliant.
No, not for the
in all
last
his games.
last. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right though, Savva. Like you look at it last 3 or 4 years. I think Declan Rice has been very good in an England shirt. I know people might disagree,
I think
but
he's steady, isn't he?
Yeah,
steady.
I think he's been
He wasn't
good.
good in the last tournament though.
No. I mean, you could say
It's
that
hard
Jordan
to judge
Pickford
because
has done
international
well.
football is so boring. It's hard to judge whether players are actually good or not.
Yeah.
You know?
But this is my point, Ant. See, when I look down for the last 4 or 5 years, if you said to me, it's not like club football. Like I could tell you right now who's been consistently good in a Spurs shirt for the last 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is. In an England squad, when they're changing the team all the time, changing the tactics all the time, when you're playing international minnows, no disrespect, it's really difficult. Like the other night, how do you judge? Someone said to me, I didn't think Rice did a lot today. And it's like, well, in a game like that, where the other team don't want the football, what are we expecting of a Declan Rice in centre? His job then is to keep the ball ticking over. But people go, didn't have a good game. But what did you want from, like, what was Rice meant to do? I don't, so this is my problem. Who's played really, really well in England shirt? You go, they always perform. I don't think there's many.
Saka. Every single time, no matter where he plays for England, he plays well. Or whether it's left back, whether it's right wing, I don't care what anybody says. Saka won England's best player 2 years in a row.
This is the thing. All the big names.
None of us can sit here and lie. He's consistently been. Go on.
All the big name players in the Euros, especially, Saka was the only one that actually rose for like 90 minutes. Like Bellingham rose in certain moments. We didn't see Foden.
Did he for 90 minutes? Did he? Look,
everyone there. He was one of the better performers there. There wasn't many good ones. I'm not saying there was like everyone.
I don't ever seem to remember big. Like, I'm talking about in these big games. Where's the big moments? Where's the big moments from these players?
Okay, we would have been against Switzerland.
Yeah,
what exactly. Did do in the final?
What did anybody do?
None of them did anything in the final.
Palmer came on immediately. Bitch, bang, goal.
I agree.
Football, how many great performances do you see?
But Saka, Rice, Foden, none of them were performing well in the final. But literally, Saka was performing like way earlier in the tournament, where like against Netherlands, he was actually one of our better players. Against the Switzerland, one of our better players. In the final, nobody did anything. Nobody did anything until Palmer Watkins came on.
Mike, I agree. I'm just trying to think in all these games, in all these tournaments, in the big games. I'm up like who's doing anything where you can go, boom, what a player. I don't think any of them. I'll be honest. In the guys, shoot me down if you want. In the Euros, I thought Bellingham was absolutely shit. He scored that brilliant goal, right, which for me overshadowed how little he actually did throughout the tournament. But moments like that are what people go, Bellingham's class, and you're like, well, I don't remember him doing a lot. But maybe that's just me.
But again, though, I would argue, like, I agree, but also, I'm more than happy to have a player that can put a big moment out when you need it most. Sure. 2 or 3 big moments, which could win you a tournament, in my opinion, is more valuable than maybe no big moments, but he was decent on the pitch for 90 minutes. So you can look at it both ways. But I agree, there isn't that many players that have stood out for England over the years. But I think we're almost, everyone goes on about, we've got so many good options, there's so many quality players, and we do have that. I also think it's a bit of a hindrance at times. It's almost a pain in the arse having this many good options to pick from. I mean, you look around the other teams around Europe and the world that we're going to be competing with. Now, I don't know their squads inside out, but the likes of France, France maybe to a degree have got very good attacking options. But, I mean, you look at other teams, they're not blessed with the same amount of options and depth in those positions that we have. I'm not saying it's not an excuse for not winning tournaments or anything, but it's almost a bit easier, perhaps having less options. I know that sounds mad, but you know what I'm saying, though? It's a bit easier maybe to have...
This is my 11. I'm going to coach them. They're going to play every game for their country.
And you've got like 4 or 5 options from the bench. But with us, there's just like... It's almost like...
I think it's really difficult for players to shine in international football. You know, if you go back to Italian 90 and earlier than that, the World Cups, it seems like every team had fantastic players playing fantastic football.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, World Cup and Euros are pretty boring in the main, aren't they? If you're not invested in the game, you watch Italy versus Germany. It's not normally a fantastic game. You know what I mean? It's pretty turgid. So I think it's hard for players to shine in international football
because everything's a 1,000 passes now, Anne, isn't it? Everything is death by
slow.
passes. Like so let me ask you guys before we move off international football. I think Charlie's absolutely bang on there, Mike. So I'll come to you first. When you looked at Spain, for example, who won the last tournament, and for me they were deserved winners from start to finish. I thought they were superb. It was almost like you knew the 11. You know, it felt like this is my 11. You know, I'm sure that in some games they made a couple of tweaks, but this is my 11. I know it going into the tournament. I know how they're all going to play. I've got Lamau on this side. I've got Morata up there. I've got Williams this side. I'm not moving from that. I've got Rodri there. You know, Ruiz and was it Pedri, whoever it was there. You just knew. When it's England, Mike's, I feel like we go into the tournament not even knowing our best 11. Like it feels like there's so many options, like Charlie said, that you could go, well, he should go there, he should go there, he should go there. But we don't know, do we? We never seem to know.
I feel like we always say we always have so many options until we actually get into the tournament, and then the managers that we have never actually pick anyone different. So, like, despite the back four, everything going forward, it was the exact same of the same players stinking it out week in, week out. And every time we're always like, okay, the squad looks really good this year, or whatever. But the actual options that we needed, like the Gordons to do something different on the left, etc., they barely got a minute. Like a Water, like when we were struggling in midfield, like a Water the main who didn't really get many minutes. Like, I know these players are inexperienced, but when the experienced players aren't doing well, and every time in the big occasions they seem to fail to expectation, where is your experimentation, or where is your lack of changing something up? So I don't know whether Tuchel's going to be exactly like Southgate in terms of the fact that he's going to pick the big names, he's going to stick to the big names or whatever, because he's still new to the squad. This is his first break where he can actually pick anyone. So I feel like we always go into the tournament being like, yeah, we have loads of options, but then those options don't get used anyway. So really, we're just limiting ourselves. We self-sabotage in a sense with our own team selections. Well, we do have the options.
But he's got, guys, he's got a year, right? Sorry, just quickly, Anne, I'll come to you. This is the thing. When we're all talking about experimenting and, I want to see this player in his squad and he should be trying out this person. Do you not think there's a little bit of this where Tuchel's looking and going, this tournament is in just over a year's time? Am I in, has he been given the remit by the FA to build a young team and experiment, or is his remit worry about the next 15, 16 months? That's it, because your contract will be dependent on what you do. So isn't he in a kind of,
he's been appointed to win the World Cup.
Right? He can't win.
He's been appointed to win the World Cup.
Again, that was going to be my point that I was about to say, is that maybe TT's just getting his feet under the table, playing it safe, and then eventually he'll introduce his own system and his own players that he wants. But right now, first and second games against very poor opposition, so he's not much of a gamble. First, second game, maybe he's just thinking, get these out of the way, and then I can start thinking going forward. I don't know, maybe.
But this is a win now. This is a win now appointment, isn't it? He's been brought in to win the World Cup, so I can understand. I can understand to an extent why. Do you know what? You've got so few training sessions between now and the World Cup. You've got very few games as well, and very little time with the players. I think anyone thinking that he should be experimenting and trying loads of different players out that's not going to happen. This is a win now appointment. This is come in, quickly find your best team as soon as possible and get to work on your system and your formation, because you come in to win now. This is not come in and with a view to creating a team that's going to challenge in maybe 2 or 3 tournaments time. This is come in, do the job now, and then if we win the World Cup, then you can start to bring some new players in for the Euros and future tournaments. But this is not a rebuild. This squad is ready to win now, and this is a win now appointment. So there's very little room for experimentation.
Do you think England are one of the favourites to win it? Like, do you anyone here think England are going to win the World Cup?
No,
no.
I think we can.
Never showed anything that we could in previous.
I agree. I don't see why this manager.
I don't see why this manager would change it. I also don't think Jordan Henderson and Marcus Rashford is a case of we're looking to win now squad. I know it's the first international break, but it's not picks where it's like, okay, these players are ready to win now. Like these are the additions of why we're going to win the
final in the last few tournaments under Southgate. Surely it's only one game. It's only one game away.
We scraped over those.
But the World Cup's different. The World Cup's different to the Euros, right?
Like, look what we did when we came up against France. What happens when we came up against France, an actual serious opponent?
Yeah, no,
we didn't do anything.
And that question mark is still there. You know, that's something that Tuchel's going to have to dispel, because England, notoriously, they'll beat the teams they should beat. They breeze through qualification, and then every single time we face a team that's any good, we lose. And that's
Charlie, we've got to see under a different manager to Southgate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%, 100%, mate. You know that's what Tuchel's going to have to prove now, is that England actually have got what it takes to step over the line against the big teams. Now, when I look at the teams we're going to be competing with, your Brazils and your Argentinas, and you're looking at your Spains and France probably as the main contenders. I mean, Germany might add themselves together there. I don't know what Italy are going to be doing, but you look at those teams, and I have to be perfectly honest, right now, I don't fancy England to beat any of them teams in a game.
I don't. Charlie, I asked this question last week. Name me the last big nation England beat in a competitive game.
I couldn't tell you, mate.
It was Germany in the Euros in 2020.
Germany Euros, wasn't it? Yeah.
And even that's what I'm saying. I don't like that Germany.
Even that Germany team was a mess. If you remember,
they sacked him off.
Parameters now, though.
But like this is the thing.
It's true.
You look at every tournament. The moment we come up against a top team, we go out. Every tournament. Look at the World Cup under Southgate. Right, everyone went, "Oh my god, he got to the semis." If you look in that World Cup, England beat Panama, Sweden, Colombia, and I think it was Slovenia, maybe, or someone like that, right?
Yeah.
But in that tournament, we played Belgium twice,
lost both times,
and Croatia. So the three seeded teams we played, 3 defeats. You then go to the Euros where we got to the final. We didn't play anybody of note. The moment you play Italy, done.
Were the Dutch good in the semi?
To be fair, Savva, even Italy weren't of any note. Italy were shocking.
They were the best team.
Even they weren't of any note.
Yeah, that's my point. We never go to a tournament and put a marker down. We never go, oh my God, we've just
come in. It's coming.
I think there's another thing as well, though.
There's like third in the table. Anything's possible, right?
There's a fine line to find, though, because in knockout football, right, I think a lot of teams still play with fear of going out.
Yeah.
Because like people can say, "Oh, we want to see expansive football. We want to see us go for it," but you don't want to see that at the expense of going out. So you've got to find that balance. You have to find that balance of between absolutely going for it and also making sure that you do stay in the tournament as well. You know, we are going to have games under Tuchel at the World Cup, by the way, that are probably very similar to games that you've seen under Southgate. But I think the big thing with Tuchel will be, though, in those key moments, in those game-changing moments, like against France in the World Cup when the momentum was with us and the subs were crap and they were too late and whatnot, and we didn't take advantage of the momentum. And every time we got back into a game, we just dropped deep and sat back. That's where Tuchel has been brought in to make those differences in game. When we are in the ascendancy or when things change, it'll be proactive rather than reactive. So, look, Southgate done a good job, by the way. I wasn't a massive Southgate fan, but he did a very good job. In fairness to him, you have to be honest about that. He couldn't get us over the line. And
shockingly bad manager.
And he's not a good manager. No, he's not a good manager.
Shocking.
But Tuchel,
he was good at beating who he should have beat. Can we put it? Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
that's all the nations he should have beat and all the big nations throughout.
That's been every England manager, hasn't it, for ages?
Yeah,
sure.
But that doesn't make him good, though. That doesn't like.
No, sure. But look, if we're being, by the way, I can't believe I'm slightly sticking up for Southgate because I actually hammered him during his time with England. But I think we have to be fair, right? And you can point to who we faced and whatnot, and the teams that we've lost to. At the end of the day, he did make 2 finals and a semi, so we have to give him some credit for that, regardless of the teams that we faced. We were there, and we got to where we did. But yeah. There's always that question mark, is the final step over the line. And this is it now, because if this group of players with Tuchel can't win a tournament, then what are we doing? Like, will England ever
have
win?
We got the players? That's the question. Have we got the players
Yes.
capable of winning a World Cup. Yes,
My
we
next
have. I think
question was: are we good enough to? I don't think we're good enough at the back. I
would
don't think
agree.
we're good enough at the back.
No,
I
Maguire's
feel
back
like
too.
yeah, but when we all talk about Kanes and the Bellinghams and the Palmers and the Declan
Defence
Rices.
wins you the title.
I don't feel like when you look at what England used to have at the back, I look at our back four, whoever's there, and I'm like, it's good, but is it title winning tournament?
There's a real lack of quality centre backs at England right now. You're looking at the centre backs, right? And look, I think Mark Gay is a cracking player. He's probably England's best centre back right now. John Stones has fallen off. Levi Colwill has got potential, but is not there yet. Harry Maguire is out the picture. Jared Branthwaite hasn't really pushed on, didn't make this squad. You've got Konsa at Aston Villa, who has done reasonably well. Yeah. But like Mark Gurhey is England's best centre back right now. I think you're right, Savva. No, John Stones, I think, has been a great player, but he's miles off it at the moment.
He's good. Yeah.
And so you look at it and you think England's centre back options are not good. That they're not. You know, and that was the big question mark going into the Euros at the summer, was the defence. Now we've got obviously good right back options, Lewis Skelly at left back and Lewis Hall now when he gets himself back fit again are good left back options in which has been a problem position. But I think what you say about the goalkeeper, I think actually Pickford's been a decent England goalkeeper in fairness to him, and there's not really any promising keepers coming through. But I would agree with you, Savva. I think most areas of the pitch, we've got fairly good options. Centre back is where I look at it and think up against Mbappe and
centre mid and centre mid.
Yeah, centre mid is an issue as well. You know,
I think if you take Declan Rice out of there, I look at this squad. I think I said this to, it might have been me and Ant having this conversation the other week. Sorry if you can hear the dog barking. Hopefully you didn't. If you take Declan Rice out that squad, I don't see many centre mids. I see a lot of midfielders that like to drive forward and that are good on the ball, but I don't see, other than Declan Rice, I don't see a centre mid in that squad. And I think you need 3 or 4 of them in a tournament. I think you need 3 or 4 good centre halves as well. I just don't think that England's players are what everyone else does when they say that it's ready to win.
Well, we don't produce that type of midfield player. Everyone goes like, oh, where's like the English Rodri or whatever? We don't produce players like that. You look at Spain midfield options, for example, Fabian Ruiz at PSG, Rodri, Zubimendi. Like, I mean, and there's probably others there as well. Look at
Gavi, Pedri.
You look at Portugal. Look at Portugal, Vitinha, João Neves. Straight away, 2 very good midfield players there. Yeah. You know, I mean, if Bruno Fernandes plays in midfield, I'm sure there's other ones that I'm not thinking about. Like, you look at the options that these teams have got in midfield, right? There's good options there. But England, for whatever reason, Declan Rice is a good player, but England don't produce.
I've got to say, Gibbs White. He is suitable for that position, Gibbs White.
I just don't think he's that.
But would you feel comfortable though?
Gibbs White, you know what? His energy is unreal. He tackles and he covers and he comes back, he goes forward, and his passing can be sublime. I'm not saying right now he's the finished product, but he's certainly a player that can be molded into that sort of position.
Yeah, potentially he could be. But what I mean is though, when you look at it, right, if you come into a big game, let's say a knockout game in a tournament, right? Are we sitting here confident if we've got to play Morgan Gibbs White in midfield up against the midfield of, say, Ruiz, Zubimendi, Rodri, or up against a Tchouameni, Camavinga?
I don't think any player I'd be confident.
But this is my point, though. Like, when you look at the midfields that they're going to come up against, right?
Yeah.
And if you...
No, I'm not saying right now. I'm saying he could be moulded into that kind of player.
But like we talk about having a Harry Kane reliance, which we do, if anything were to happen to Declan Rice, by the way, also big problems for us because there's no real natural alternative to Rice in the squad either. So I know you're going to be reliant on certain players, of course you are, but as we said with Kane, it doesn't really feel like we've given an alternative a proper run if we were, God forbid, to be without Kane for a number of matches in a tournament. And I also don't think we've given a proper run to a Declan Rice alternative. And what is the Declan Rice alternative in the squad right now? Is there a Declan Rice alternative in the squad right now?
I think it's got to be Water. for me.
It has to. I've been saying this. Like, I think people forget because he's been injured for so long how good the guy actually is. I'm not saying he's like ready to compete with Zubimendi and the Rodgers when we actually come
better than
against
Mainu, Mike. Do you think he's better than Mainu?
Yeah. In a pivot, yes, because Mainu is more of a final third player.
So yeah,
Mike,
Watts
is the best progressive passer from deep that we have.
See, this is where I feel we get.
Can we stop this, man? I don't like this, man. Like, everyone talks about progressive passing from deep, like the 6 can only be played the way Rodri plays it. Like Declan Rice is clear of any other option that we could put into the 6. If you
that's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying instead of him, Hooks. I'm saying play them together.
That's the worry.
One of them will win the ball. One of them will win the ball. One of them will progress the ball. There'll be a good balance.
I mean, I don't think it's it's not a short-term worry though, because Declan Rice is like 24, 25?
No. Injury.
A 3-month injury before the World Cup. At the moment, there is no central midfielder that is trusted or that has played regularly over the last few years, other than Rice, that goes in there. You look at Mainu.
You could go better.
Had a turn. Wharton's had a turn. You know, Henderson had his turn and is now back in there. There's no solid centre mid hooks other than Rice, is there?
But isn't that why we're? But isn't that so? I mean, I guess the issue is if you take out Rice. Let's just say Rice did get injured. You don't really have someone who's like the defensive side. You don't really have. You could do a double pivot of.
Yeah, you have to change the system, don't you?
Wharton, just change the system. You could just make it more offensive. You could go Wharton and Rodgers. You could go. You could even go Rodgers and Gibbs White. You would just need to have like your defenders.
You couldn't. Yep. Hooks,
if
you were playing top team
actually,
national football with Rodgers and Gibbs White are both very good footballers, but they're not centre mids, if that makes sense. They're not. Do you know what I mean? Do you guys know what I mean when I talk about centre mids? But look, not attacking midfielders.
That's why I said with Wharton, like his attributes on and off the ball. I'm not saying instead of Rice. I'm saying he would be great to play alongside him because not only would he be solid as well defensively, because he's good at winning the ball back out of the pitch, he's good at tackling, he's good at intercepting, but he's also good at passing just in between as well. Let Rice win the ball back and let Wharton pass it. I think it'll be a good balance. If you get them two used to each other, you got a midfield that will compete better in some games on and off the ball than we have in the past.
But yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? They're just there isn't we say this, but we haven't got. I mean, the midfield options are just difficult, isn't it? You know, it's a problem. You know, if Rice does get injured, yes, you could get away with a Gibbs White or a Rodgers against a crap team, but in a big knockout game, you're going to get found out big time in midfield against these top quality midfields. And so, two things need to be. Someone needs to be tried there for that eventuality. But I think the bigger question's got to be, why are we not producing that type of player?
Because we care more about pace and power.
Yeah.
Like all through like academy football is pace and power that gets preferred to like the more techie kind of like there's even like for example, if you look at a player like Pedri, if Pedri was coming through English youth football, he wouldn't have made it. He's too small. This is what it is. It's just pace and power. It
depends what club. He would have at a Man City, but he wouldn't have at somewhere else. Like
he might not have even made it to like a Premier League. Like I'm just talking like just from young when before
that's an English football problem in general. Is that the football is so. I use the word turgid again. You know. Honestly, I love my fucking club, I tell you, because we at least try to speed the game up at times. You know, when I watch teams like Man City and the like, fantastic football, don't get me wrong, lovely passing, but oh my God, it gets a bit boring after a while. You say, I admire Man City, I admire their players, I admire their team, but I find it this is before the season. I find it very difficult to watch them because it's like watching the old Barcelona team. It just gets so boring after a while, watching this ticky-tacky, back and forth. You know, I like a bit of pace and power, and I'm glad that my club actually is the one club in the entire league that actually does something different to the rest of them.
But I didn't think about Curtis Jones. I mean, Savva, do you think Curtis Jones, Savva, is a good option?
Little Pep Guardiola's Barcelona is absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah, boring, mate. Boring as fuck.
No. See, but I used to watch that Barcelona team play every week on a Saturday or Sunday night.
More than me.
They played the best football. I think everyone thinks that the tick-tacker was always slow. They moved that football at the pace I'd never seen anybody move it before. So to say it was always tick-tacker sideways, it wasn't.
No, fair enough. I wouldn't argue with it because you're obviously a lot more cognizant with the Barcelona way than I am. It's just that when I used to watch them, I used to say, get the ball bloody forward, will you? You know. So
this is why those countries win everything. This is why those countries win everything, Ant, because your idea as a fan is just get it forward, which what naturally what does that mean? Hang on. Naturally, when fans have this opinion, naturally just get it forward. What that means is naturally it's going to keep coming back. And what that Spain and Barcelona team did was, you don't have the football, you can't hurt us. And some of the football
is that not what Man City did? Is that what Man City have been doing for the last 5 years?
Man City haven't always been boring. Some of Man City's football when they scored 100 goals that season was ridiculous.
I still found it often, not always, of course. We talk in absolutes, don't we? We're talking, of
course,
massive terms like generalizations. Of course, it wasn't always boring, but there were lots of games I used to watch Man City, and I used to watch because I used to love the fact that they used to play proper football. But I did find myself getting bored, and you know what? I find the same things happen to Arsenal. Last season, I think it was the beginning of last season. Was it beginning of last season when they took off like a house on fire and had 50 points at the halfway? They look fantastic. Now they're still playing this possession football, but I'm sorry, watching Arsenal now is pretty boring.
Do you know what the difference is? It's a symptom, guys. Sorry, Mike. Isn't this a symptom though? When you've got a team that naturally have the football. So let's use Man City as an example. When anybody plays Man City, naturally, the first thing they do is retreat onto their own edge of their own box, and it's right, break us down. So it is pass, from right to left, into the forward, back out. They're moving over in boxes of 4 players. I get it. But the problem is, and this is why I saw loads of people the other day saying Pep's ruined football. Surely it's not Pep. Surely it's all the managers that want to copy this style of play.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, you know what the difference is between like that Barcelona team and the type of possession football we see now? Is that Barcelona team had natural like technical players. Now, as much as we've got the technical players that we talk about now, a lot of it is about recycling the ball, passing sideways, but also waiting to break a team down. Yes, but if that Barcelona team's coming up against a low block or whatever, the team that's trying to defend on the edge of their own box, they're passing the ball quick enough where they found the opening before the other team has even seen it in the first place. We're in a time now where, because it's so system based, you don't have an Iniesta, you don't have a Xavi, let alone a Messi. So you don't ever see those type of midfielders anymore. Like Man City and Bernardo Silva, for example, his job is just to keep it ticking, just pass it sideways until they find an opening. Whereas the Barcelona team, they would pass forward quick and dribble quick and take a few touches.
I've said that maybe I shouldn't have said Barcelona. I will take that back. But I was just making a point about tiki-taki football.
Everyone's doing it though.
Nuno, for example, this season. I mean, teams that come up out of the Championship now are trying to play Pep football. And look what happens to them.
It's ridiculous.
Everybody's trying to copy. So it's not Pep's fault. Pep was brilliant. He introduced a type of football that made them virtually invincible. But everybody else tried to copy with inferior players. And it looks terrible. My club, 38%. We average about 38 possession. You know, against Brighton, we had something like 36% possession and won 7-0. Explain that.
I think there's a balance to be had, right, Charlie? Like, there's got to be a balance. Like, don't get me wrong. I find Nottingham Forest, and I find watching Nottingham Forest very effective, but really mind-numbingly boring. Like, and I think that's the problem. A lot of fans.
How can it really be boring? We don't have the ball.
That's what I mean. Like,
it's boring.
If you asked most fans, right, would you want your team to have 37% possession and constantly be having the ball coming against them and just defending in blocks of 4. Not many fans want to watch
Hang
that.
on, and be third in the table. You got to add that in as well.
Yeah, but it's not. You're not. Let's see if that style of play keeps you there over. And we always say this every week. If that style of play keeps you there over a number of years, cool. But
no, we wouldn't put up with that. No, we wouldn't put up with that, Savva.
Hang on, right? But this is the thing. It's all well and good until it isn't, right? Because when that style of play doesn't have a team third in the table or in the top half, fans suddenly start going, this manager's football, not Nuno, I just mean in general, this manager's football shit, right? So it's good when you're winning games, but then when teams figure it out, when teams start
they'll
now...
never figure it out. You don't have to figure it out. There's nothing to figure out. It's dead obvious. You tell after the first 10 minutes of watching Forest how we play. There's nothing to figure out.
I'm
Doing
talking
about it is different to figuring it out.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's the same as any football. Look at like Man City. Man City's football over the last couple of years has been figured out somewhat.
Yeah,
their
players have declined. Their players have declined, Savva.
Let me finish, Ant. Yeah, but you can say that, but teams are now getting in and amongst them with more power than they ever have before, right? So teams are actually having a go at them rather than just sitting back. Before, everyone was shit scared of City. It was shit, 10 men behind the ball. Now teams are going, hang on, there's a lot more gaps. We can, I just think
teams have massively declined, though, Savva. That does play a point. It does play a part.
It does.
Both things can be true, though. Both things can be true. Is that the players have declined, City have been found out a little bit, and also teams are a lot braver now as well. How many teams now go and have a go? A lot more teams go and have a go.
Charlie, that's because their players have declined. They wouldn't have had a go if De Bruyne was in his pomp of 5 years ago, if Foden was producing like he was, if they had Mahrez on the wing.
Yeah. I agree with you, but I think a combination of these factors can be true.
Agreed.
Is all of them. City have been found out slightly. Pep maybe needs to reinvent himself a little bit. Players have absolutely declined.
We don't play low block, by the way. We don't have two R's in our name, and we don't play low block.
But
okay.
And teams are braver now. Teams are definitely braver. Unless you're a bottom 3 side, a lot of teams now will go and have a go. And that's definitely something different than what we've been used to seeing. But yeah, more than one thing can be right.
Listen, I'm not stupid. I agree with Savva that whilst we're third of the table, of course our fans are happy. I think most fans would be happy, right? Yeah. I mean, when Spurs had Conte, I think he played dreadful, awful football. But if they won the Champions League, I think their fans would have been happy.
But you put up with it, don't you? This is the thing. Like,
of course you do. Let's be honest about this.
Yeah,
if we were fourth from bottom, our fans would be in uproar about this kind of football.
But fans don't care.
We're not.
It's result. At the end of the day, it's results driven, right?
Yep.
If you've got a crap style of football, but you're winning, you've got no leg to stand on, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to win. Now, of course, you want to win and have the pleasing on the eye football, but ultimately, as a fan, you'll put up with crap football if you're winning. But the most
it's not actually crap, by the way. Watching our defenders perform every week against these.
I wasn't saying the Forest are crap or anything
because
like that.
Chelsea did the same thing. Chelsea won titles and things on basically being very good defensively.
Yeah, we did. We absolutely.
So it can be a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, but they also scored hundreds of goals going the other way. So look, I'll ask this question, right? I'll ask this question. As Charlie just said, when it's going well, teams are happy for that, right? Fans are happy with that. The problem is, I think there's a shelf life to it. I think there's a shelf life to playing that way. Now I'm going to ask you this: who across the world of football regularly wins trophies playing that way?
Well, it was City.
A lot of Italian
City
do.
Well, no, City don't. Like, I'm talking about the kind of less possession, low block.
Sorry. Right.
Yeah, a lot of Italian
regularly
clubs have traditionally done it by having excellent defenses. I mean, Catenaccio was a phenomenon. It's not unique.
No, okay, well, I'm asking for
Juventus.
There's not many.
Juventus. Then
there's not many, right? If you look across the world in terms of Barcelona and Real Madrid win more often than not win the Liga, right? If you look at Borussia Dortmund have won the Bundesliga,
Or Bayern
Bayer
Munich,
Leverkusen, Bayern Munich, right? If you then look in the Premier League where it's been Liverpool and Man City for however many years, my point is there's not many teams that regularly win trophies with this setup year after year. I'm not knocking it, needs must, but
no.
that's
Do
all I'm saying.
Munich,
That's my point.
do Bayern Munich need to be defensive?
In
No.
the
Do
Champions League,
Barcelona and Real
they-
Madrid in those poxy leagues need to be defensive? No, because
Whoa,
they're like
whoa.
it's like 1,000 times better than anybody else.
Whoa, sorry,
They
those
spend 1,000
poxy
times more than
leagues.
anybody else. Yeah, I don't think their leagues are as good as ours. I think we've got better teams than they have. Yeah.
And have you seen the top 3 in England versus the top 3 in Spain? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but you're talking about the top 3. I'm talking about 20 teams, Savva, not
Sure.
the top 3.
I bet. Do you know what? Do you know what? I can tell straight away from your comment there, the way you've completely belittled it, that you don't watch the Bundesliga or La Liga. I can see a million miles where you don't.
And you're right. You're right. I'm not a liar. I will always.
Do you know how I know? Because anybody who doesn't watch it always belittles it. Right? There's a reason why those countries more often than not win the European competitions. Right? Those countries have better title races than we do.
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not saying that epoxy because all the teams are shit. I'm saying the epoxy because it's the same team, Bayern Munich, practically every year.
Same as England.
Barcelona and Madrid.
Same as England.
It has been, yes. It has been with Man City, yes. But that will change, I think, hopefully.
But hang on, that makes no sense. In Italy, in the last 10 years, 4 different clubs have won the Premier. Won the
prior
league.
to that, Juventus won it 13 years on the trot.
Yeah, but prior to, how far back do you want to go though? Ant? This is the problem. Like we're talking about now.
You don't like to go back more than a week, do you?
No. Hang on, no. You can't. No. Hang on, Ant. Sorry. You can't do that, right? People in England always do this thing where they just belittle every other league, right? As though we sweep up these teams aside whenever we play them. If you watch the Spanish league,
we've got the highest coefficient league.
Sure, but you watch the Spanish league, right? You watch the Spanish league, right? That top 4 is better than our top 4, right? Then you look at some of the other teams, how well drilled they are, the defenses compared to ours, right?
You're talking about this year, this season.
Sure. I'm talking about the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
Last season, Man City were better than anybody, or season before. Yeah, but I know, but you're picking out a moment in time, aren't you?
I'm not picking out a moment in time. We're talking about, I'm going over the last decade, right? English fans do this. Those poxy leagues, they're better than anyone else. Man City have won the Premier League, 8 times in the last 10 years?
Do you think the French league is a good league? Do you think the French league is a good league?
The French league is the one league where I do go,
right, yeah, PSG could win the Champions League this season, so that makes their league great then.
Hang on, let me finish the sentence then, right? But you've chucked the French league in, I've not mentioned the French league, right? You're now starting to chuck in leagues that I've not talked about. But when you look in Italy, right? Look at the title races in Italy. Look how many different teams win the league in Italy over the years. When you're in England, it's literally been Liverpool and City for the last 8-9 years, right?
It does.
Right?
It does.
But yet we're always talking like every other league is shit. And do these teams need to be defensive? I don't think you watch it. Barcelona lose games.
Yeah, they
Barcelona lose to lesser teams in their league.
Look how successful.
That's because they should be defensive at times. That's why.
Look how successful.
It's not. That's because teams. Look, Ant, sorry, Charlie, just really quick. Ant, I hear this all the time, especially on Sky Sports News. They're plugging it into everyone's head. Premier League's the best. Premier League's the best. Premier League's the best. Technically, it's not the best. Defensively, it's not the best. What it is, it's fast and furious, and it's got more money than any other league. But this whole notion that they don't need to defend in their leagues. What do you mean? What do you mean?
But do you know what it is though? Like when people,
they don't. Of course they do.
Because they're so superior to everybody else.
But they're not. But they're not.
But they are. When was the last time that somebody not called Bayern Munich, apart from what is it last year before,
right,
didn't win their league? When was the last time that someone named Barcelona or Real Madrid didn't win their league? When was the last time someone named PSG didn't win their league?
And when was the last time someone that wasn't City won the league? Like, it's the same as this in this league is the same as the others. But English fans like you don't want to admit it.
Right.
You don't,
if you think that their leagues are as competitive as ours with the same
They are.
Same spread. No, I'm talking about the whole league, not just the number one.
I'm talking about the
whole
whole league. I'm talking about the whole league. This is the problem. And this is the thing. Fans like you in England that don't watch any other leagues openly admit to not watching it, then openly have the arrogance to say, oh, I'm talking about the spread.
Ignorance, not arrogance. Ignorance, not arrogance. Let's be right.
Hang on. How do you know? You don't watch Real Sociedad each week. You don't watch Villarreal. You don't watch Bilbao. You don't watch these teams play. So how can you sit there, hand on heart, and say it's more competitive in our league than any other?
Beat Zaragoza. My God, our shit was AB. Let's Sociedad rather. I saw Man U beat Sociedad. Our shit was AB.
But that's like that's like saying Man City lost games. Man City have lost games to Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League. Are we now going, oh, that makes Man City shit?
I forgot what we're arguing about, mate. Can you just remind me?
But if you look at these leagues, right? If you actually look at the teams that have won the most European trophies over the last 5 to 10 years, England are not ranking that high on the list in terms of who's won Europa Leagues and Champions Leagues over the last 10 years. Spanish clubs are comfortably the best performers in Europe. On the European stage, they're comfortably the best performers in terms of winning Europa Leagues, in terms of winning Champions Leagues. So England, don't get me wrong.
How many of their players play in Spain? Don't they have a lot of players outside of Spain?
Who?
I don't know. I'm asking the question.
No, they all play in Spain.
I don't understand the question.
No, it's not national teams. I'm talking about teams that are winning Champions Leagues and shit. Like, if you look at them, it's
what are we arguing about? What we're saying?
In terms of.
I was wrong. I was wrong.
Every other league
I
in
was
Europe.
wrong to say that Germany and Spain are crap leagues.
If you don't watch them, then yeah, you are. If you don't watch them, then yeah.
Okay. Hang on a sec. I take it back. I apologise because I am ignorant of it, and I am going along with the narrative. I'm not too big a man to admit these things, by the way. So if that's the case, if they are better than our league, and they are competitive as our league, I'll take your guys' words for it. Okay,
yeah, no, I think there's a difference between like better and competitive, because like competitive, I guess you can talk about the spread from top to bottom, but then better,
that's
you might be
trying to say.
Yeah, but
then team like Brighton come out of nowhere, team like Forest come out, Fulham, Brentford,
and same as other leagues.
I don't see it, Savva. I just see the same old names all the time.
Yeah.
But this is the difference. You see, this is the difference, Sam. So what you see is the same teams winning it, which is the same as England. But because you don't watch it, you don't know who's 4th to 10th in that league, right?
No,
look at Bilbao. Look at Bilbao this year, who are sitting in 4th place in
How do you get time to watch all this other football?
No, you just have a quick look.
But because you watch highlights, you watch the round.
I
don't watch the games.
Can I just say as well?
The highlights I watch, to be fair, Savva, like with this country, the highlights I watch are always Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, because that's how television works. Yeah.
Can I just say as well? When do you think
really all of those other teams are on? If you watch the games, they're all
but come on, no, be fair, Savva. You've been disingenuous there. Are you telling me that as a non-watcher of Spanish football, I'm going to turn in to watch Bilbao versus Sociedad? No, you're going to watch.
No. Hang on. Well, slow yourself down, sweetheart. First of all, I haven't been disingenuous. I never said you had to. What I'm saying is, if you want to sit there like Billy Big Bollocks and go, every other league's crap.
No, I'm not sitting there like Billy Big Bollocks.
Yeah, I don't watch it.
Who are you comparing me to?
That's like me saying, oh, I hate the film Titanic. Have you seen it? Nah, but I've heard.
I hate it, and I've not seen it. I've seen clips of it, though. I've seen enough clips of it to know it's not my thing.
Look at the gaps at the top of the leagues. England's is the most embarrassing right now of the top leagues in Europe.
This is a strange season. This is
Liverpool, but it's been like that a few. It's been like that a few times in the last 5-6 years, where City have run away with it. The gap's huge, and you're like, yeah, but this league's the most competitive. Is it? What's competitive?
No, I think what people say when they say most competitive. What they say is that in this league, and I'm only going on what I've heard, that in this league, more than other leagues, 16th can beat 4th. Whereas it happens more regularly in our league. It happens more regularly in our league that it's very difficult to predict.
Says who?
It's very difficult to predict.
Okay, so let's test your theory. I'm sorry.
Okay, fine.
Again,
listen, I don't want to argue. I've got enough stress in my life. I don't want to argue.
I'm just saying. I want to listen. I'm somebody. I want evidence. When people say these things, they're throwaway comments. How many games have Liverpool lost this season in the league?
One.
How many games have Arsenal lost this season in the league?
3, is it? 3?
Maybe
3. Top.
Right. So the top 2 have lost 1 and 3 between them. I bet you Barcelona.
We've not lost many either.
Right?
No. But I reckon
you lost 7 games. Yeah. Barcelona the other week lost to Leganes. Before that, they lost to Las Palmas. Right? These defeats do happen, but you don't watch the leagues to know because somebody tells you.
Barcelona have lost 5 games this season. Real Madrid 4, Atletico Madrid 4, and Bilbao 4. So the top 4 in La Liga, Barcelona have lost the most games. They've lost 5.
And
what exactly is that proving?
That teams can beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah, those defeats happen in other leagues, like when you said 16 beat 4 in the Premier League. That's the point I'm making.
It does happen. Look, at the end of the day, like...
Yeah, and Barcelona are 16 points ahead of the team in 5th.
Right. So look at the Premier League.
I mean,
Liverpool are 22 points clear of the team.
No, because I've already said that this is a very strange season. Forest are 3rd in the table, you know. It's a very strange season. It's not normal.
I'm looking at
it. It's a strange season. And
Barcelona,
I think it's fair to... Yeah.
The point I'm making is that's not exactly close, is it?
No, but
the way you're talking, it's like Barcelona, win every other game and lose every other game.
No. Hang on. I feel like you're having a different conversation with the rest of us. You're talking about the gap. Look at the top 4 in Spain, right? Look at the top 4 in Spain. It is split. The top 3 is split by 4 points. That is competitive. That is a title race, right? And the gap to 4th is 8 points from the top. The gap from 4th to top in the Premier League
21, 22?
21 points. That's not competitive. That's not competitive in any way.
Yeah, I keep repeating myself. It's a very strange season.
Yeah, and I think it's fair.
We should get back
to
talking
with the relegation.
Yeah,
same with relegation.
Relegation. Now.
I think it's fair
we
to
can
say
forget relegation. That is where the problem in English football is, at the bottom, not the top.
There's an argument to be had that
I think the problem's at the top as well.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be had that this is one of the worst seasons in terms of quality in general. And that's no disrespect to any teams that are doing well.
Brilliant season.
In terms of the quality we're seeing in the league, right? The only thing that's keeping this season exciting is the race for Champions League football. Because the title was done in February.
You are dead right there,
mate. and relegation was done and dusted January, February time.
Yeah.
So the only thing keeping the season exciting is the race for 4th and 5th. That's it.
This season's done. The
season's been poor. And don't get me wrong,
it's not done for some of us.
No, but don't get me
wrong. It might
be
done for you lot. It's not done for some of us.
No. As we said, as football fans,
as an overall,
the bottom's done, the top's done, and it's kind of like if you're not.
Champions League has become this thing now, hasn't it? Where you have a race for the Champions League. You know what I mean? You didn't in the olden days. You didn't used to have that. But now you have a race for Champions League. It's a big thing.
For big TV companies as well that peddle that out.
Yeah, but that's keeping this season exciting. And that's not to discredit any teams that have done well this season. But I just think from an overall perspective, in terms of quality of games, I'm not saying that everyone's going to remember every single game that's been played this season, but certainly for how many games can we really say stick out in the memory this season? Like, wow, that was a great game of football. There'll be a few, don't get me wrong.
We've got loads.
But there's nowhere near as many of an overall perspective from the league, in my opinion, where I've gone, wow, there's been some really great games this season that I can remember.
Yeah, we've had loads. We've had loads of great games that we can remember.
I mean, there's been some.
But for the neutral fan,
it might have been for you. But I'm a football fan, aren't I?
I know.
General. What Charlie's talking about
neutral games, not just
back in the day where you could say there were classics like Newcastle, Liverpool, and those 4-3 games and stuff like that. When you look at it now, like they build up these great big Super Sundays, the back-to-back games.
Yeah.
How often are they? It's so
dire.
It's just
Normally
so
dire.
boring and dull, and everyone's passing sideways. And
I agree with that.
Either way, look, you're always going to have it in every league, right? You're going to have the big boys are always going to be up there. The big boys are going to be up there. The Real Madrids, the Barças, the Atleticos, they're going to win the La Liga. In England, it's more often than not. If you look at, let's be brutally honest, Leicester was an anomaly.
Yeah.
More often than not, it's going to be between Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool now. Right? It's those three clubs that have dominated it for the last 10, 15 years, if I'm not wrong. Right?
Yeah. When was the last time we had a title race, Savva, with more than 2 teams?
No, you don't. You don't get it. We don't get it. It's been
Yeah,
Liverpool,
I
City,
think this is what I'm trying
Arsenal,
to
and
say.
City.
This is what I'm trying to say. It's become a top 4 or top 5 thing now, hasn't it? Like people concentrate on that as much as they used to concentrate on the title winners, because the title winners, well, we know who they're going to be most years. Like certainly in the Man City era, we knew Man City were Liverpool were going to be challenging.
Yeah,
that was how it was.
But I think that point applies to most leagues, that generally speaking, in most of the big leagues, pretty much that you can pick the league winner from 2 or 3 teams, and that is going to be the same for pretty much all the major leagues. I think, like you had with your Leicester, you're very rarely going to get a situation where you get a surprise winner anymore. It just isn't going to happen. You get teams that will have a surprise season, like Girona in La Liga last season, finishing in the top 4 and getting Champions League football and whatever. And I think you will have seasons like with Forest, where what they're doing. I think there'll be more scope for things like that with teams breaking into Champions League qualification. But I think really, if you're looking for another league winner outside of, a City, a Liverpool, or whatever right now, you look at Arsenal, Chelsea, you're looking at the traditional clubs. If you're looking at someone to potentially break in to try and win a league as a new winner, the closest you're probably looking at is a Newcastle, and they're miles away still. They'd have to have significant investment, which they've not had in the transfer market.
Things do change, though,
Things can change, absolutely. But if we're being honest,
25 years time, we don't know what the situation is going to be like.
Absolutely. But if we're going on what we've seen traditionally over the last however many years, we can't really sit here and say that we're going to ever get a situation. Well, certainly for the time being, we're going to get a situation where there's a new winner. You look at maybe Newcastle, as I said, as the only example where you think a different team could potentially win.
Can I take you back before City had the investment? If you'd gone back a year before they had the investment, nobody would sat here and said, well, you don't know, in 15, 20 years' time, City could win the treble and win 4 years on the run.
Of course.
Would never have said that. Yeah, so things can happen in football.
Yeah, no, they absolutely can. But if we're looking for new winners, then your best bet outside of the traditional club is a Newcastle.
Charlie, if I said to you next season, name me where the winner of the Premier League's coming from, which 3 teams would you give me?
Man City.
Can I get Wolfie on to answer this?
Right, it will be. You will be saying it will be coming from Liverpool. It will be coming from Arsenal. It will be coming from Man City.
Yeah.
As it stands, I can't see anybody else that's remotely close to winning a league title. Yeah. By the way, same in Spain. Spain. I would say which 3 teams? Barca, Madrid, Atletico.
Yeah.
They're the 3 teams that can win it. Same with Germany. It will be Bayer Leverkusen, Bayern Munich, or Borussia Dortmund. Right? If they get
same with France, it'll be PSG or
in France, I mean, in France, it's ridiculous because PSG are the but one of the better leagues, believe it is, and I'm going to wrap up the show in a minute. Serie A, they've had 4 winners in the last 5 seasons.
Yeah, great. This is the best title chase right now.
Yeah, it's really close. It's like Inter, Napoli. Yeah. There's like 3 or 4.
I do know some stuff.
Yeah,
but it's the same. It's the same in Spain. The top 3 are separated by 4 points. Yeah. The top 3. Look, guys, I'm going to end the show there because people want to go and watch England, I'm guessing, and I've got a watch along for it. 7, big up to you, mate. So that's Spurs fans. We're most prepared to bottle this. He's talking about England. Yeah, as Spurs fans,
Yeah.
Sorry, the dog's going mad. The puppy's losing his mind. As Spurs fans, we're most prepared to bottle this. Yeah, we're used to not winning, so we're all right when England get knocked out of tournaments. Big up to you, Seven. Big up to Anthony Clark, who's an Arsenal fan with the super sticker. Really appreciate you, my man. Thank you very much. And Olmo has said the Premier League has been boring for about 5. Listen, Olmo, I think the Premier League's been getting worse and worse and worse. I don't think the top players join this league anymore. I think there was a time when the top players came here. I don't think they're coming here at the moment.
They do.
I think they want to play in Spain. The best players are playing in Spain. Listen, Olmo, thank you very much. I really appreciate you. Guys and girls, please subscribe to Mike's at GVO Mike's. Please subscribe to Charlie at Blue Brother CFC. Please subscribe to Anne and Wolfie at Forest Fatten TV. And I'm going to go. My dog's losing his mind. I'm going to go. Thank you very much. The link, if anyone does want to join me for the England watch along that's starting in 8 minutes, feel free. There it is. It's in the chat. Take care. See you later. Thanks, guys. And as always, come on, you Spurs.